Hi, my name is Brady, and you're watching The Classroom. Today, we're covering something that may really brighten up your mood, quite literally, and that's high-key lighting. Typically, a lot of the lighting setups that you'll see me do will utilize low-key lighting, meaning having a lot of dynamic and contrasty shots and utilizing shadows to our advantage to create a lot more depth and interest. So contrast to that, high-key lighting will often eliminate all shadows and dark areas from the frame with the main objective of keeping the lighting even and level throughout the whole scene. You'll see very often high-key lighting using large and soft diffuse light sources to eliminate all the shadows. And most frequently you'll see high-key lighting being used in sitcoms, comedies, romantics, beauty, broadcast, stuff like that, because it really conveys a positive and happy emotion. So for example, you're watching a horror film or a dark thriller, but everything is lit in a very high-key manner. Something feels really off. I mean, something's about to jump out, but the room's extremely bright and even. It's not as scary, right? It just doesn't fit. A lot of those kind of more thriller, horror, scarier, intense movies and shows will go for more of a low-key lighting setup. And one difficult part of achieving high-key lighting is just simply the need for more lights. You need more firepower to fill in all of the shadows. So in this case, I'll just be using 4 of the new Godox ML60s, which are very affordable daylight fixtures that really pack a punch when it comes to output and brightness. I'm not gonna lie, I was very impressed with how these ML60s worked when using them, and I can guarantee it's not gonna be the last time I use them. But diving into our first light, because the kitchen lights are just not cutting it, they look horrible, there's shadows, there's weird lighting. We're gonna add our first light, and that's our key light. So I put up the diffusion that we had made a handful of videos back, and I used a large one. And behind that, I put 2 of the ML60s, and I'm sure one of them would have worked, but I wanted to make sure I had enough brightness and output coming through that diffusion, coming onto Sarah. And also I wanted a larger splash of light hitting that diffusion, because remember, the larger the source and spread of light that hits that diffusion, the softer the light and the fewer shadows accumulate in your frame. So I placed this key light about 45 degrees from Sarah, and I know you want to eliminate all shadows, so you would think to have a very flat direct lighting, but that direct straight on lighting often will just be too flat and too washed out and bland and not have any contrast. But since we still had a little bit of shadow on that far side of her face, I took a white reflector disc and just put that there to pump up the brightness a little bit more on that dark side and have a nice smooth roll off, but not be too dark into the shadows, because remember, we're going for a high key look in this scene. So after that was all set up, I took another ML60 and I put that inside of one of the Godox soft boxes, and I do wish that the dome was a little bit larger, because a larger light source does provide softer light, but this does a great job for compact and run and gun lighting setups as well, especially with the grip that comes with it. And the purpose of this light was to fill in the ambient background light and really fill in the shadows there, so I kept that coming from the same direction as our key light, and I had the power at about 40%. It definitely didn't take much to fill that in. And a little pro tip, if your camera has a feature like false color, use that tool to your advantage. Turn that on and really check out the lighting ratios in your scene and make sure everything is even and exactly how we want it, so you don't have a lot of those high highs and those low lows, because everything's got to be bright and even and soft. So now that the entire scene is starting to be lit evenly and nice how we want it, sometimes it's hard to distinguish the subject from the background. So next I added one more ML60 and I put that on an arm rigged up cross key, meaning across like diagonal from the key light, so it's over the other shoulder, and I rigged that up on an arm up high, stretching across into the frame so you wouldn't see the stand there, because sometimes you see a stand and it's ugly and you don't want that. And that light had no modifier on it, it was just a reflector dish that came with it. And rim lights like this do a really good job of just raking the side of your subject's neck, hair, shoulder, and separating them from the background. And I'll be completely honest with you here, since I was shooting with Vazen Anamorphics, beautiful lenses, but since I was shooting with them, I pointed that hard light directly at the camera because I just wanted to play with the beautiful flaring that you get when shooting in anamorphic lenses. And I'm not gonna lie, I was really impressed with these budget anamorphics, and I'll leave some info down below so you can all geek out with gear like I do. But yeah, I'm sorry, Vazen, you might not get these back. But anyway, moving on, one last touch just to make things really stand out. I wanted to add a pop of light, just a touch of interest in the background. So I took 2 of these little Sandmark bicolor pocket lights that I have. I threw some gaff tape on the back and just slapped them up under the counters. And that just adds a nice little accent of interest on the backsplash. And accent lights do a great job of just adding some visual interest and texture into the background, into the scene. Just a little pop when things are looking a little bit flat and boring. So that adds just a little bit more shape of color and light and interest into the background. Let's take this step by step and look at all the lights that we added in. So again, I know high key lighting setups are hard. They're really tough. It requires just a lot of firepower and a lot of output, but using these ML60s with a budget cost but a very quality output, they make it easy to achieve a high key lighting setup like this without breaking the bank and spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I'll leave a link for that down below as well. But that's all that I've got for you guys today. I really hope it wasn't too much to take in. But side note, we're creeping up on 50,000 subscribers. Mind-boggling number, I know, but I'm feeling pretty generous coming into the holiday season. So do us all a favor, let's share this with a friend. Let's get some more people here, and once we get to 50,000, let's see what fun we can have, or what fun you can have with what I might give to you. I don't know, I'm not gonna spoil the surprise. Anyway, class dismissed, the bell's been ringing for a while. Take care, see ya, bye-bye, see you next week.